Bună seara, bine ați venit pentru acest rendezvous special. I wish you a warm welcome. Herzlich willkommen. We will have our talk in English today. I am very glad to talk tonight with Elena Stancu. Hi, Elena.
Hello.
Yeah, this rendezvous was meant to be with the equipa of your project of Teleleu, but your partner in crime, so to say, because we will talk about your project, Cosmin Bambuț is unfortunately ill today, and he couldn't join us for this talk. But I'm sure that this talk will be also interesting with you, because you're doing everything together. If I understand it right, you are really very close to each other in this project, and we will also talk about space, and you will also understand because why I say close, because you are working in a closed space, so to say, often at least. So thank you that that you're ready and that you are willing to talk with me, Elena. Elena is you began to work. That's what I read when my colleagues prepared for me this talk. I have read that you began your career as a journalist at Marie Claire magazine. Is this true?
Yeah, I was the deputy editor-in-chief in the last few years before moving in a camper van. But before working at Marie Claire, because before being a deputy editor-in-chief, I was a feature editor, and before Marie Claire, I was also working for a news agency.
Okay, so basically, did you journalist studies? Is this your background, or do you have another background?
No, I studied the Faculty of Letters, and I made a master in text editing. That was the closest.
So you began your career as a journalist. So
yeah.
So and Marie Claire magazine was a Romanian edition, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. But at Marie Claire magazine, I was a features editor. So at Marie Claire, I was doing feature stories about domestic violence or about human trafficking, about the prison system. So that's where I met Cosmin at Marie Claire, because he was the photographer I was working with. Okay. So we started to do these documentary stories for Marie Claire, but we both loved to make documentary projects, and we wanted more than what we could accomplish at a traditional media where we had our limitations.
I see. So you consider yourself as investigative journalist, so to say?
No, not quite, because we don't do investigations. What we do is we are laughing and sometimes saying that we are making slow journalism. We mostly do documentary projects. We spent a lot of time in the communities we are writing about. I am writing about, and which Cosmin is photographing, and we try to document their life as intimate as possible. So our journalism would be long form journalism or non-fiction journalism, if you want to put it in a category.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I don't think that you're completely right, because for me, the texts I've read in English you sent us, they have this kind. It's documentary, but it's also investigation in a certain way. But we will come back to this point a little bit later. I understand now better why you left Marie Claire magazine to other things, because you continued a little bit what you did already when you worked for Marie Claire magazine. So a kind of social engaged journalism.
Yeah, but more profound, and having a lot of time to do my job, because one of the frustrations that lead me and Cosmin to such a radical decision as the one to move in a camper and live in a camper for 7 years. In November last year, we we celebrated 7 years of life in a motorhome. The decision we taken was somehow connected to the situation of mass media in Romania. It was quite impossible to document those kind of projects we wanted to document in Romania because there was no medium and no publication or no television who would give us the funds we needed to work on a story for 6 months, for example. Nobody was interested in financing this kind of journalism because they preferred that kind of journalism you consume rapidly and you can have without such an investment, because doing this kind of journalism is an investment of time, of money. You don't have that reporter in your newsroom. The reporter is in the field, working on the field, and it's not working on something else besides the project he or she is documenting. So this was the reason we made this radical decision, because we living in a camper, it was very cheap because you don't stay in a hotel, you don't eat in a restaurant, so it's very cheap to document a story because you live in a community you document. And what we didn't know at the time we took this decision, which was mostly economical decision, what we didn't know was the fact that when you live in a community you document, you live near the people, you became so intimate with the people you document that this helps you as a journalist and as a photographer, because you are there when they wake up, you are there when they prepare their children to school, you are there when they drink a beer and relax in the evening, you are there when they go to work. And this was what we've done in Germany, for example. We lived in a German farm for 1 week near the building where the Romanian workers were staying. So the German farmer gave us electricity because we needed some electricity for our motorhome. He gave us water for our motorhome, and we could be there with the workers from morning until night. We were there when they drink a beer in the weekend. We were there when they went shopping. We were with them, completely with them. And you are.
So basically, you took this radical decision on 2013, if I'm not wrong, to leave your jobs and to leave also Romania, because it's not only the mini camper or this, but you went to different countries, didn't you?
Yes, we did, but in the first 5 years, we mostly of a life in a camper. Until 2017, when we published our book Acasă pe drum at Humanitas, we mostly documented extreme poverty in Romania, the Romanian medical system, the problems in the Romanian medical system, and also life in the Romanian penitentiaries. And in the winter, when it was really cold and it was impossible to live in a camper in Romania, we ran away to Greece, to Turkey, and Cuba. But this was only a short period of time for 2-3 months a year, let's say. But in 2019, we started to work on this project about Romanian diaspora, about Romanians who are spread along Europe in different countries where they search for a better life for themselves. And in 2019, we started to travel in Europe and document what's happening with the Romanians.
So, and for the time being, where are you now?
Right now we are in Alba Iulia, where we came in December. We were in Germany when we decided to come back to Romania, and it was really cold in Germany. We were after we documented the Romanian parliament elections in Berlin, because we documented the diaspora voting in Berlin. We've spent some I think around a week to finish our articles and to finish publishing all the pictures and all the articles. And afterwards, we decided that after 1 year, because last year we have traveled the whole year. We have been to Spain, Portugal, and Germany. The break, and we came back to Romania in Alba Iulia, where we have small. I don't know how to say it in in English. We have a small mansarda.
Ah, okay, a mansarda. Yeah, okay, yeah.
In a friend's house where we keep our stuff, because we have a lot of stuff that doesn't have space in our motorhome. So we are here and we are working on our project, because we have a lot of unpublished feature stories. And we sold some.
Where do you publish your stories? You just mentioned a little bit earlier that you had that you published a book, and this book received also some prizes. It was with Humanitas, and I think you are preparing another book. But books, we know, that takes a long time, and maybe you are also publishing the text already in other medias, and then they are published together in a book. It's that way you are proceeding?
Yes, we publish our stories on our website on teleleu.eu, but also all our stories are published in Libertatea newspapers, because we collaborate with Libertatea newspaper, and everything we do during this project is also published in Libertatea. And in the end of this project, we will publish another book at Humanitas also, and the book will be called Plecat, Away. It's the same title as our project.
I don't want to ask you too much, but financially talking, do you get money for publication? Can you? So will you? Because you said it's a radical decision. Because I suggest also that you aren't rich. You can't become rich with the work you're doing.
Oh, for sure, you can become rich with the work we do. And the funniest question was when we were in the fields near Nuremberg in Germany, and the Romanian migrant workers, we became friends with them, and we asked them how much money they make and everything about their lives, and they said, "Oh, come on, tell us more about your life. How much money do you make out of this job, out of journalism?" And we started laughing, because the money we earn from journalism are less than the money they earn as migrant workers. So mostly our money come from our readers, because we have a Patreon page where they can donate for our project. And also we have some small amount of money from our collaboration with Libertatea. And as I told you, when we moved in a camper, we reduced our budget, and we started to live with very few money, because actually you don't need so much money for clothes, because you don't have space to put the clothes. So you need very few stuff. But actually, since 2019, when we started to work on this project about Romanian diaspora, the money we need are more than the money we needed when we documented our stories in Romania, of course, because it's much more expensive. In Germany, for example, we had days when we usually do free camping, but there were times when we couldn't free camp in some cities because it's not allowed. So we have to go to a camping space.
Okay, I see. And how did you manage to come through the Corona times? Was it more difficult for you to be mobile, for instance? Did you have controls, quarantines, or things like this, or was it all easy? Because you were in Spain, you were in Portugal, you were in Germany. Was it smooth without any problem?
Oh no, it was complicated, not necessarily because of the restrictions the other countries put, but it was complicated because first of all we were scared. Of course, in March we were in Portugal. We just documented a lot of stories in Spain, in south of Spain, where Romanians are picking strawberries. And we just entered Portugal, where we needed some time to do our office work, how we call it. And then when the lockdown came, and it was pretty frightening, because we decided we don't want to come back to Romania, because we want to continue our project even in the time of corona, because now it's more important than ever to do our work as journalists, because it's important what is going on with Romanians living abroad, what is going on with the world around us. So we wanted to stay. But in Portugal, the police was chasing us. We were not allowed to free camp anymore, and they were sending there. There were a lot of Germans, for example, in Portugal, who were there for the winter, and they chased everybody out of the country. So the Romanian embassy in Portugal contacted us. They wanted to send us back to Romania, but we explained that we don't want to go back. So they find a place for us in a Romanian monastery in Portugal. And we spent 5 weeks there at the Romanian monastery, the time when the lockdown. And when the lockdown ended, we just continued our work in Portugal, because we had some important projects in Portugal, because Romanians working in tourism there were really affected by the corona crisis. They earn less, they were working more. There were cases of exploitation by the owners of restaurants, for example. And after we spent some time in Portugal, in September, we went to Germany. There were no restrictions then. It was easy for us to travel. And we wanted to enter a farm where Romanian workers are living, because they live in the same farm that they work. They have accommodation there. And we were rejected by some German farmers. One German farmer chased us away, and then we found a farm where everything was all right. The conditions were nice, and the German farmer was very kind to us and let us inside. But we had to take a corona test, of course, because we couldn't be ill and put in danger his people working there. And with this corona test, we went to the farm, and we just do our job as journalists.
And
after,
you have the impression, because this was a real issue, Romanian diaspora, Romanian season workers for all, in all Europe and Germany, and we had some cases of corona on farms, and many Romanians, and there were complaints about the working condition and so on. Do you have the impression that things are maybe slowly or a little bit improved now, or there's more conscience about the situation?
I think they are afraid, because they are checked more often. The farm where we have been received a check from Zoll, from a sort of tax office from Germany with more complex responsibilities, where they don't check only the money, they also check the working conditions of Romanians, and they are afraid of these checkups, because they are much more often than they were. But I think it depends on the people. For example, we went in the first farm, where the German farmer chased us away, and the conditions were really awful there. The Romanians were crowded. Their bedrooms were crowded. It was cold. They didn't have masks. They didn't wear any mask. They didn't have disinfectants for hand. I mean, if you entered that farm, you didn't even realize that there was a corona crisis. It was nothing, and I think that's why they chased us away, because they didn't need some journalists there. But the second farm, where the German farmer welcomed us inside, it was really nice. Everybody was wearing a mask. The workers were receiving masks every week. They have disinfectants almost everywhere. They came to take our temperature every week. They also tested our temperature, not only the workers. I mean, the conditions were good. I think it depends on the person. That
you published on the 19th of November an article, when the first snows hits, that's when my daddy comes home. Is this about this situation, these articles? And could you please, because we will post, I think after our talk, we will post also your website, and also the possibility for the people to donate, that they get your address. But what is the content of this article? To give us just an example how you proceed.
When we entered the farm, we usually don't come. When we approach a new subject, we want to be open and to see where the subject leads. We don't want us to lead the subject, but the subject to lead us. And first, because we have so much time and we are not pressed by the deadline in a normal newsroom, we want to see what the subject is. And when we entered this farm, we realized that there were a lot of young couples with small children at home, and that children were alone. They were growing up without their parents. Their parents were in Germany, and they were at home in the care of their grandparents or other relatives. And the pain is huge. We know the statistics. We know that there are a lot of children in Romania who grow up without their parents, but we don't understand the pain of a couple who leaves their young children at home. So this story is about Stelian and Oana, who left their children 5 years ago in the care of their grandmother. And when Oana left, her daughter was 1 year and 7 months old, 1 year or 8 months old, and Oana was breastfeeding her. And the baby slept with her mother for the last night before her mother went to Germany. And her mother went to Germany, and in the same time, the little girl has been weaned, and her parents left home. She was alone, and she wasn't fed. She wasn't breastfed anymore. And this pain is huge. I can't imagine the pain of the little girl and the pain of the mother who had her breast swollen and hurtful, and she was speaking. She was working in a greenhouse in Germany, and it's their small family drama, but put in a larger context about the Romanian families who have to make that decision, because it's not easy to take this decision. But this family, if they wouldn't go to work to Germany, they would be really, really poor. And they are so happy that this is what they said. They said, "We are so glad we escaped poverty. We can have a bathroom in the house." Because Stelian told us that his biggest accomplishment years ago, when he was first to Czech Republic before going to Germany, and with the money he made in Czech Republic, he could build a bathroom in the house, and he was able not to go in the yard in the middle of the night in the winter, but to go in a house. So it's a small story of a family, but this is so relevant for a lot of families who are spread it in Europe and whose children grow up without their parents.
You're completely right, and this is also what I find fascinating of your work. You're just touching fields and aspects which we forget to quickly when we talk about these issues. And you're also right, there are many, many Romanians going to Germany. Time is running up, so we should we have still some minutes. I want to ask you another thing. I found also very interesting your article about the voting of the Romanian diaspora for the last elections. Could you just tell us, as you did for the other issue, how did you proceed to write this article? Because did you also go in the Romanian diaspora in Berlin or somewhere? Did you spend time with them? How did you do?
Yes, since 2019, we have been to Spain, Portugal, Germany, and France. And since we started this project, we spend all these months, all this time abroad, living in the same communities where the Romanian diaspora live. So we could understand how their lives are. We could understand what their problems are, and we could understand what their frustrations are, because these people have a lot of frustration. I mean, you don't leave your children at home and spend 10 months away from your children and being perfectly all right with this. Of course, you are frustrated, and you are frustrated that the country has problems with corruption. You are frustrated that you couldn't go to school, because a lot of people whom we met in the greenhouses in Germany have only have been only to 8 grades classes, because they didn't have the resources to go to high school. And yes, they are frustrated. So this article you are talking about, it sums up all our conclusions we had in the last 2 years. And also I wrote it just after the elections, when we saw a lot of posts on Facebook from our friends who are saying, "Oh, I don't understand. How could they vote for our? How could they do that?" And we realized, yeah, they do that, and it's so easy to see it. You just have to look for it, but you don't look for it, because a lot of people tell us, "Oh, why do you write about these people? Why don't you write about the Romanians who are doctors, or who are neurosurgeons, or I don't know?" We also write about them, but we also write about these people whose life is not privileged like ours, who have a lot of problems. So we want very, very badly for people to know, to understand these people. So yeah, it was also an emotional article that I written immediately after.
And are you writing directly in English, or in English and Romanian? How do you do?
No, I only write. I only write in Romanian. The articles you have are translated in English by somebody else, not by me.
Okay. I see. So, and what are your projects for the future? Because you talked in the beginning, you said, "Oh, at the end of the project." So you have an idea of an end and of something else which will come. But in next spring, in 2 months, you will go back to another European country, to Germany. What are your plans?
I think this project about Romanian diaspora will last for at least 2 more, because we have countries where we haven't been yet, and where important Romanian communities live, like the United Kingdom. And right now in March, we want to head to United Kingdom because of Brexit. We want to see what's happening with the Romanians there. We are also on some Facebook groups where we see the Romanians talking, and we understand that that's a lot of confusion in the UK. But we also want to go to France. there's an important community, and there are a lot of Romanian doctors there, and also Belgium. And we would also like to go to Holland, Denmark, Sweden. So we have a lot of
at least 2 years, 2 or 3 years. This is more over a 5 or 6 year program. But for us, it is also very important because as a German cultural institute, we had last year, you know it because we cooperated in it, the exhibition Akasa about Romanians in Germany. But this is also very important because we will have, in a certain way, we have now different and other German-Romanian relationships that we had in the past. In the past we had always German minority being in Romania, and now the German minority is almost gone. There are maybe 50,000 people living still in Romania. They are gone. So this is one group, and it's also an interesting group to see how they settled in Germany, and do they still live their Romani city, if you know what I mean, their Romanian part of their past. So it's also interesting. And there are these new kinds of migration and going there, coming back, mobility, and we will see how things will be after, hopefully soon, the end of the Corona crisis. But even with Corona, you will go to the United Kingdom.
Yeah, we want to go to the United Kingdom, especially because of Corona and Brexit, because we want to see what's going on. Yeah. This was our decision to continue our project.
So we are looking forward to read articles about it. We will on our Facebook site we will post the informations about it, also where you can be found. Your articles could be found. Elena, it was a really passionate talk with you. I would like to continue, but our format is up to 36 minutes. Time is over, so to say, but it was really, time passed very, very quickly. And I have to say you are very courageous, and we hope to read other articles, and I hope also that your project in a whole will be a success.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the talk. It was really nice.
See you soon again, and we are open also for common project with you.
Sure. We will collaborate.
Thanks, Elena. Bye-bye.
Bye.